Skipping school. I skipped class in high school to go across the street and read at the public library. Unsurprisingly, I spent a lot of time in my head and walked with my eyes downcast. I wasn't at all aware of the world around me. It's partially because of that lack of awareness that it took me so long to realize I was being followed. On the day I noticed I was being followed, the library was emptier than normal. I was struggling to find something to read, so I wandered up and down the rows. Despite the emptiness, I had never once been alone since I arrived. A shadow of a person was now accompanying me as I made my way through the library. I kept on catching a glimpse of someone peering at the books in the row directly in front of me each time I stopped to look. No matter where I went, when I happened to finally glance up, I noticed that this person wasn't looking at the books. He was looking at me. Being an awkward kid, I quickly looked away and shuffled off. He moved in the same direction. For the next few minutes, I tried to write it off as coincidence, even as I saw him actively following me out of the corner of my eye. The same guy in a black hoodie and black pants, following and staring. I felt a rush of panic. I hurriedly walked to the outside of the rows, where what few other people that were in the library were sitting at tables or reading on the sofas. I simply stood there frozen, unsure of what to do. I hazarded a quick glance around me. I couldn't see him anymore. He had left. After all that panicking for nothing. I felt stupid for a moment. I laughed at myself, then started looking at the books again. That's when I felt a hand brush across my butt. This wasn't someone bumping into me. It was on purpose. The hand started at one side and made it all the way to the others. Fingers gripping at fabric in an attempt to cop a feel, the person kept on walking. When I looked at the retreating figure, what did I see? Black hoodie, black pants. I felt like puking. I had no idea what to do. I was young, confused, and scared. I left as fast as I could, straight back to school. A few days later, I was at school, trudging through the hallways on my way to class. I was making more of an effort to look around now. I was skittish after the incident at the library, so skittish, in fact, that I jumped when I locked my eyes with him from the opposite end of the hallway. Black hoodie. He was in my school. He was staring at me so blatantly that I could not have not noticed him, despite the sea of people around us both. I was walking towards him, he towards me. He shouldn't be here, but he was. He knew how to find me. To put it mildly, I lost it. I turned around and ran to the main office, where I barely explained the situation to the secretaries through tears and hyperventilation. They hauled me into one of the offices, then sent the hall monitors to look for him. A guy with black hair, a black hoodie, and black pants isn't exactly a rarity in high school. I knew he was too old for high school, though. I also knew for sure that they would find him and make him leave me alone. They didn't find him. A hall monitor came to the office sometime later, took my story, then had me look at pictures of students within the school that possibly matched his description. Of course, he wasn't in any of the photos. He wasn't a high school student. I stopped going to that library, then left school shortly afterwards. I never saw him again, but it doesn't matter. I can still see that vacant stare in my head. Game of chicken. Female living in Hawaii. The more I think of this, the creepier it gets and the more upset I become. This happened a couple days after leaving work. It's around 8:30 at night, and I'm taking my normal route home. I'd use this back road that usually doesn't have traffic this time of night. Saves some minutes from using the H1. Now, this road is famous for the high number of fatal car accidents that happen on it every single year. I've been traveling this way for the past 2 years and could never figure out why until that night. So, the road is a long stretch, about 7 to 8 miles, with no stop signs or random sharp turns, and the streetlights are far between. I'm driving along and I come up behind this car. Not sure the make, but it was a silver hatchback. It's going maybe 30 miles per hour, 35 tops, and the speed limit on that stretch is 45 miles per hour. Only reason I know it's going that slow is because my speedometer never went above 25. On top of that, he kept speeding up a little bit, then going back down to the snail pace. I fall behind him for a little bit. He's doing the speed up, slow down thing until I get impatient and decide to pass them. Seeing the dotted line, I proceed to pass, but they speed up, okay? Maybe it's because they were going slightly downhill, right? I accelerate more, 45 or so, and so do they. I glance over to the car, making a what the fuck face. It's dark out, so not sure if they see me. It's then that I notice a car coming straight ahead. The lights are still a good distance away, so I have time to still get over. I press on the gas harder, bringing my speed up to 55, thinking I'll be able to pass now. Nope, the asshole in the car beside me was still matching my speed. My car lights in front of me are getting closer, and it's at this moment I slightly panic. You're probably thinking, why didn't I just brake and cut the car? Well, 1, the car that was behind me is now behind the car that I'm trying to pass, and 2, unless I am on the brakes at the current speed, I'd probably fishtail and take out all the cars anyways. The car in front of me is maybe 10 car lengths away by now, and I see them swerve to the side of the road, but there's really nowhere to go. The only thing I can do is press on the gas and try to cut over. I'm hitting 65 miles per hour now, and the damn car is still beside me. They're really not slowing down at all. The oncoming car headlights are super bright, and I know I'm just seconds from being in a head-on collision. I hold my breath, slam on the gas, and swerve my car over just in time to see the lights of the car coming speed past me. My heart pounding in my ear, and I'm trying to catch my breath, thinking, oh god, I'm still alive, oh my god. I look in my side mirror to check on the car that was heading towards me, making sure they didn't fly off into the tall grass or something, and I see their taillights in the distance, thank god. I then glance in my rearview mirror to see that the car that caused all this has slowed down considerably. Like, they have to be going no more than 40 now, trying to get a better gauge on their speed, because there's no way they're that slow now. My speed, 45, their speed, fucking hatchbacks back in the distance. What the fuck? How are you speeding 1 second, and then you're back to your original slow pace? Maybe that isn't that creepy, and maybe it doesn't belong here, but I can't get over how there was almost a 4-car accident, because they didn't want to let me pass. I probably didn't handle the situation correctly, but the whole incident happened within 5 to 15 seconds, and I truly just panicked, and my thought process was not the best. Not sure how I would have been able to avoid a wreck any other way. Hashbag douchebag, stay away from me. The first time I tried the marijuana. I wasn't what you call hood or hip when I was a teenager. I grew up in the suburbs with a Puerto Rican mother and a Trinidadian father. My household consisted of strict parenting and constant lectures about the horrors drugs can do to your body. Naturally, I rebelled. I took my first puff of a cigarette when I was 14 years old and didn't like it until I learned how to inhale. My parents never found out that when I took our dog for a walk, I was also sucking on a cancer stick. If they never knew that, I would have certainly been punished in the worst way possible. A few blocks down the road from our subdivision was a neighborhood called Fieldstone, where most of my friends lived. Fieldstone was a cluster of low-income houses that always had children in the yard, guys selling or doing drugs, or old men drinking beer and playing dominoes. I loved going to Fieldstones because it was a whole different country compared to the manicured lawns and 2-story houses that I lived in. My best friend's name was Nayaka. She and I would go home on 2 different buses, change clothes, watch an episode of Mary, and meet up at Ingalls, the halfway point between our houses. We would walk to her house, I Fieldstone and do her homework, then explore the neighborhood. One hot summer day, me and my friend were walking towards our friend Brittany's house. We passed a man named Key. Key was about 32 and had craters in his face that I later found out were due to meth use. She knew him, and we stopped to say hello. Key then invited us to his house to chief. I had no idea what chiefing was until she whispered that we were about to smoke some weed. I was nervous as hell because of the terrible stories my dad told me about this guy he knew that smoked one time and forgot his name and had to put in a straitjacket. I didn't want to look like a chump and I trusted my friend, so I put on a brave face and kept moving. Anyways, we got to Key's house and his roommate, a 30-something paraplegic that got around on a wheelchair, greeted us. He creeped me out immediately. Here we are, 2 16-year-olds in a grown man's house with his roommate, eyeing me up and down like a juicy steak. We sat down on the couch while Key rolled up, and the roommate, whose name was Troy, wheeled his wheelchair right in front of me and just stared. I looked at my friend and she was just as cool as a cucumber. Key came out with a blunt in his mouth and it finally reached me. The feeling of THC coursing through my system for the first time was the greatest feeling I had. I felt like I could float, and I was thinking some pretty awesome thoughts. Everything was hilarious. Key then asked my friend to come in the kitchen, and she went and talked to him for a while. When she came back, she told me Key wanted to talk to me. When I got to the kitchen, Key was standing next to a large wad of cash on the counter and straight up asked me, "How much would you want me to give you for you to walk around my house for the rest of the day butt naked?" I was shocked, stupid, and money-loving, so I said, "Shit, 200. Key smiled and said, "Follow me." We went to his bedroom, and he tried to kiss me. He had his hands down my pants, and I became immediately uncomfortable. Next thing I know, Troy busted through the door and saw us and got upset and said, "What the fuck are you doing, man? You're supposed to have her ass up face down by now." I ran out the room and told Nyaka what happened, and she and I noped the fuck out of there. We ran away from that house so fast. We looked back behind us and were terrified to see Troy lifting his legs into his chair with one hand and what looked like a gun in his other hand. We looked at each other and sprinted to the main road, where for some reason we knew we were safe. Thankfully, my crush was driving by and saw us, and asked if we wanted to go to his house for a kickback. We agreed and got in. When we got to our friend's house, we told him everything, smoked some more, and laughed about it. I saw Key again a few times after, but he never spoke, just hung his head and kept walking. As for Troy, last I heard, he was locked up for raping another one of his classmates, and is not expected to be out of jail anytime soon. I'm glad, and I hope that we never meet again. Do not get into taxis drunk and alone. A lesson. Firstly, for reference, I was a 17-year-old female in this story. Secondly, this is my first post on Reddit. Be kind to me. And lastly, I hope I've done this in the right place. So, about 3 years ago, I went on holiday with my boyfriend and his family. It was lovely. Long hot days on the beach, exploring the cities, swimming in the ocean. But I'm thinking of one particular night. My boyfriend and I had hung out with his stepsister most of the holiday. She's a year younger than us, and likes getting drunk. Despite the fact she annoyed us by following us all the time, we still hung out with her. So this one night, she suggests we go and find a club. I say that me nor her are old enough. Only my boyfriend could get in. But nonetheless, we were all walking to the other side of the island to get to this club. We're all pretty drunk. I fell over several times along the journey. So, we finally get to this club, only to see all the people leaving it. We didn't realize it was around 2 a.m., and it looked like the club was shut. A bit disappointed, we look at a McDonald's and suggest we should refuel there. I go inside and order, but tell my boyfriend and his SS that I need some air. I go outside for a cigarette. I'm smoking when a black car pulls up into the taxi space on the road. I have the idea that we may as well get a taxi back. I'm hurting from falling down, and I'm very, very drunk. "How much for a taxi to hotel name?" I ask him. €10, he replies. Now, the problem was, I only had €5. I said to this man, "Please, will you drive us for 5? We're all from the UK and we don't know here very well." So this man says, "For you, €5. My boyfriend and his SS come into the McDonald's with the food, and they see me talking to this man. I tell he's a taxi man, and that he's taken us back. The taxi man is surprised to see them, and says he didn't know I was with friends, but come on, hop in. We're all about to get in the car, me and SS in the back, boyfriend in front, while the man requests I sit in the front. I wanted to sit in the front anyways, and me being very drunk and stupid, I decided to just comply and go in the front, despite my boyfriend's protest. So the first part of the journey, everything's good. We're all chatting and laughing together, and the taxi man is joining in. We have music on the radio, and I'm looking out the window at the wonderful oceanside views, plus the cool air is nice on my hot, drunken face. We all continue chatting away, and the taxi man is being friendly, asking us questions about the UK and just generally making conversation. We all start laughing and chatting away again, and he takes my hand, his right hand on the wheel. Bear in mind, this man is probably about 50, very chatty, so I thought nothing of it. He was being friendly. Throughout our conversations, he's holding my hand every now and then. I'm starting to feel a little uncomfortable, but shrug it off. But it progresses. He placed my hand on his thigh, holding it tight in his hand. I move over on my seat away from him, but he keeps my hand there. I turn around and see the SS, as she mouths, "Are you okay?" I nod, because the man has now let go of my hand. I see the SS whisper something to my boyfriend, and they go quiet for a minute. Seeing as he let go, the conversations continue. I can see we are getting closer to our hotel, and I'm wishing for us to be there quickly. The man takes my hand again. This time he places it on my thigh, his hand holding mine tightly. I'm feeling very vulnerable at this point. I'm wearing a short, tight vest dress. I immediately clamp my legs together. I'm now silent. I froze. My boyfriend notices and says, "Mate, take your hands off her now." The man laughs and says, "Friendly, I'm being friendly." Continues keeping his hand on my thigh. At this point, my boyfriend and his SS are saying, "Stop it, pull over." But he says we're close to the hotel. I feel sick, the alcohol creeping up my stomach and throat. The man is still grasping my hand, and he moves it further up my thigh. I'm completely stiff at this point, knowing that if I let my legs relax even in the slightest, things would escalate. But they did anyways. He guided my hand up, and with one of his fingers he touched me. I don't need to say where, because you already know. I stare out the window, and I'm begging for the car to stop, and luckily it does. I jump out the car, and my boyfriend and SS are looking at me. "He touched me," I said. My boyfriend races over to the driver's window, shouting and screaming at him, but the man speeds up very fast. And as he does, my boyfriend kicks his license plate, and we see a dent. We go back into the hotel, and needless to say, I drink more. The next morning, we are going on a boat trip, and my boyfriend's family are asking if I am okay. After hearing about what happened, I say yes, because it's true, it's over now. Could have gone a lot worse, and I hope I never see him again. We leave the hotel lobby, and that's when I see them. Taxis, white, yellow, taxi signs on top of them. Pulled in the taxi ranks. I head over to one. "Excuse me," I say to a taxi man. "Are all the taxis white here?" "Yes," he says. "Only taxi colors are white, with a sign on top." I feel my insides churning. So let me reiterate this. A 50-year-old man thought me, a 17-year-old, was alone, and pretended to be a taxi service to get me in his car. Creepy taxi predator. Please, let's not meet again.